Lemon Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi there everybody, welcome to another Lemon Amiga Play Guide and Review. This time we're taking a look at Pipe Mania, otherwise known as Pipe Dream. This was developed by the assembly line with additional graphics provided by Lucasfilm and published by Empire Software and also Lucasfilm in 1989. The game begins with a title sequence we can see designed and programmed by the assembly line with additional graphics provided by the artists at Lucasfilm. Yes, the same artists that also worked on most of the Lucasfilm games, as we shall see a bit later on. It also gives us a high score table as well, and those I think save to disk, or at least they do in the WHD load version. And you can see copyright 1989 Empire. And now we get on to the very plain main menu, where we can either play the game or change the mode from one player mode to two player mode, and we can also change the controller from the joystick to the keyboard to the mouse. And definitely mouse control I'd say is paramount for this game, so that's what we're going to be playing. We can also play two players as well, but let's just play the basic one player experience. Let's just check this game out. This is one of my warm-up tries from the Lemon Amiga Games competition, which was run in January 2024. And this was the first game which came up in the 2024 Super League competition. And as you can see, this is a warm-up try. Unfortunately, I didn't get very far with it because it's very difficult sometimes to find precisely the piece that you need on the board. Trying that again a bit later on, we have another attempt, and you can see definitely mouse control means that we can move our mouse around the screen very much quicker than the joystick, and that really helps because this game is time critical. You can see the time bar moving down on the right. That will move down very quickly at the start of every level. And of course you want to be playing this on a basic triple-O processor, because if you're playing this with anything quicker you'll probably have less time. And once that time runs out, that will release liquid that will emerge from the start. And I think there is always a start box on every level. This one I'm trying to weave around the start box, hoping to get some more blocks in place. You can see on the left we have a readout which shows the next blocks which we will get if we press the left mouse button or the fire button, and there are 5 blocks listed in the one on the left, and so it gives us a heads up of what is going to appear. And that is very critical because unless these blocks join up and align, the liquid won't be able to flow through them. So sometimes you can place blocks where you don't want them to go, and then you can maneuver things around and then wait for the one that you wanted and then place that down into the grid. As long as you've met the minimum requirements on every level, then you can progress to the next one. You can see at the very top of the screen L2, that denotes the level that we're on, and the D14 means that we need to get 14 tiles all linked up, and having done that, that will complete the level. As water flows through those tiles, that will then tick the D off, so you can see it's down to 10 already. So we don't really need to place too many blocks down at the beginning of the game in order to get enough of them to get to the next level. And we'll gain extra score if we manage to loop the loop and go through a block that's already been through. That is the cross blocks that you can see, and using the cross blocks we can loop around. So placing blocks independently is sometimes a good idea, and you can see we're waiting for the one that's just appearing now. So if I rush across and place that in, that means that we can continue on, and as long as we place those down and we remember to come back occasionally for the ones that we wanted, then it should be possible to rush down and to fix the gaps in our construction. And I've just placed that one down in the wrong place, unfortunately. Now I don't have enough. Well, there it is. Sometimes you can be very lucky. Sometimes you can just place those down in the nick of time. So you can see D0 at the very top of the screen. That means we've cleared all the essential ones that we need to get through, and hopefully if I plot these down, it should give us points for every one that we've gone through. It will then decrease the points for any blocks that are unused, and if we place this here, it should mean we can continue with the pipeline. And that's basically as far as I can get. That's one unused block, but you can see the score starts to pile up after a few levels, and you can see I'm messing around now. I didn't really want to do that, and I'm trying to, well, I've dismantled my array. There it is. I'll put it back together again. So we get, I think it's 100 points for every block that we go through. We'll also get more than that if we go through a block that's been used already. We get 1,000 points. So that's 2,000 points we made at the end of that level. Each level has a time limit and also an increasing number of blocks that we'll have to get through in order to beat it. In this one it's 15, and you can see right at the top and right at the bottom of the level there is a gap, and if we put our blocks down and angle them into that gap, then the liquid will appear on the other side of the screen. So if we put construction down and force that to go down, that will then appear at the top of the screen, so I'll have to put a block there to get ready for it. Unfortunately, if we are not quite quick enough, that's game over. That means we go back to that high score table, and I haven't really got much, so it's not adding anything onto it at the moment. So skipping through now, this is my actual play of the game in the Lemon Amiga competition. This is as far as I got in single player mode. So let's see how far we get, and let's see if we can pick up any tactics first of all, because this is a strategy game, and you can imagine this being released in the arcade. According to the Lemon Amiga database, it was released on many platforms, including the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 and all the usual candidates. Maybe 2 or 4 players playing this in arcade mode. Might have been frantic. So this is an arcade style strategy game, and it has bare music throughout it. You can see it as we're playing the game. You'll hear a basic jingle which increases in tempo the longer we stay on that level. sometimes it's a good idea to try to get a few loops together, and that will give us a higher score. Don't forget this was played in a competition, so I wanted the highest score possible. It doesn't increase the flow of the water, and I think that's constant on every level. So sometimes it's a matter of placing things down randomly. I've already now ruined my chance of completing this level, but if we loop the loop a few times, and I've no idea why I placed that there, well, I can loop around like this, and then maybe I can put a straight one in there. That means it goes through that twice, so at least I'll get 1,000 for that one. You can also press the F button at any point. That will speed up the flow of the water. Here we are again on level 2, and it doesn't take very long before the liquid to start flowing down. And you can see that sometimes it's a matter of luck over judgment, because if the next blocks or the next tile, whatever you want to call those, are in a line with us, if we go straight through, then sometimes we can click on things and get a nice straight path going early. That means we've got some respite, some rest time. And we'll have to click on those wildly before we get reached by the liquid, and it's yellow liquid in this case. Usually liquid is either a clear colour, a white colour, a blue colour or a brown colour. So yellow liquid, I can only think of one particular liquid which is actually yellow, but what that means is it's bright and clear and we can see exactly where it is on that level. And this is of course using a 16 colour palette. I think it hasn't really improved much from the EGA version on PC, as you would expect. And this really, it came on one disc, so you know that this doesn't really take much memory to get the best out of it. And you can see I'm trying to spiral my way out of trouble, and it's pretty difficult unless you get the perfect one, and you also leave that for a couple of seconds to spawn on the level, because every block will spawn unless it's a brand new one, and the more you change those, the more time it takes to change them. So if you wanted to change a block 3 times, it will then take longer, so it's better to stamp them down just like this and then change your mind, and that minimises the time wasted with that manoeuvre. Sometimes it's best to spiral around, and then that uses up as much as possible on the level, the available area. I think that's as much as we can squeeze out of this particular level. We've just gone over the 10,000 score barrier, which is fantastic. I think there are maybe 5 or 6 different worlds in the game. This world is a kind of a, well, metal and steel construction kind of a world. And the next one is kind of a fish world, and then we go on to kind of more futuristic levels a bit later on. Let's see if we get any special score for going through. Well, I don't think we scored much for going through that hole, So I think the main thing is just to keep it going and flowing around the level. But sometimes those exits create a nice looping effect and it gives us some options. In this case, unfortunately, I've now closed myself off completely from the left hand side of the screen, and that means we've no other option now except to fill up these last few blocks. And well, actually it is always possible. Look at that, we've managed to find a way all the way through to the other side. So well, it was possible after all. So now I've managed to use my mind to get out of that trap, and I've managed to now construct my way through to some more score. So just like the best puzzlers, it's definitely possible to outthink the game, and with the random elements it's definitely possible for the game to beat us as well. Luckily, if we are 5 squares ahead, it should mean, there you go, we can now complete that level. There are 5 levels in every world, so here we are on level 5, and you can see a new thing has appeared on the floor. That's a crack, and cracks in the floor or tiles means that we can't use that tile, but that's 1 tile less that we need to worry about if we want the completion bonus. Yes, this game does give us a completion bonus if we fill every single tile on the map, or in the area, all those that are available at least. Then we'll get a super bonus, and I think that's 10,000. It's something like that. So all you need to do is fill every tile up, you can get the super bonus. We managed to get through that level particularly well, but we've got the password, and now that means finally we're on to the bonus level. Here the blocks will move from left to right and right to left across the top of the screen, and then what we need to do is line them up. And some of the commentators said it's good to find the tubes and then simply create a tube all upwards like I'm trying to do at the moment, and then that creates a vertical tower. And that's one way to get the score, but there are other ways as well, and sometimes you can be lucky, as I say. So let's wait for this one to move across, stick it here. Well, missed it again, let's try it again. Well, sometimes you can't quite get there in time. So this bonus level I think just gives us the same score as a normal level, and well, that can be dropped. So if we flick through them, fortunately that's as good as we're going to get. And we don't get any bonus score either for going through a cross square on the bonus level. Unfortunately, it just gives us the same old bonus score, which is increased because it's the bonus level. We don't even lose score for any pieces that we haven't connected, so that's great. And now we move on to the second world, which is a kind of fishy level. You can see instead of broken tiles we get fish on the level, so that means 4 tiles in this case can't be built upon. And we also get a tank. What do the tanks do? Well, the liquid will accumulate into that tank, and that will give us some time to build the rest of our construction. And it's fantastic to have that. In fact, to my mind, this second world is far easier than the first one, simply because it takes ages for the liquid to fill up the tank, and by the time you've done that you could have plotted bars halfway across the map. You see, it's still not full, still not full, still not, there it is. So it takes maybe 10 seconds, and it only takes 1 second to plot down one of those tiles. So you can see that's a massive help now on the second level. Unfortunately, I don't think those carry across to too many other levels, but let's see how far we can get anyway. You can see we need 4 more to complete the puzzle, so that means that the puzzle has now been completed. The level is over now, we've got through it. So now, from now on, it's just bonus score. So let's trail this around the level as best as we can. The code went to John Dale, and he's known on the Amiga for Helter Skelter, that we've hopefully seen already, and also Exterminator and Emotion as well, and only 2 out of the 3 of those games I'm familiar with and can play, so I can't do a player guide on the other 2, and maybe we'll check those out at some point. So that's John Dale, and the other coder was Martin Day, and he also worked on Xenon 2 for the assembly line, and also Power Play, Game of the Gods, which is probably definitely deserving of a play guide. And then he worked on Helter Skelter, Exterminator and all that lot. So they basically worked together as a team at the assembly line. The pair of them sent off a demo to Empire Software, and Empire Software was a publisher. They were based all the way down in Basildon in Essex, and when Empire saw the game Pipeline, as it was called then, they contacted guys at LucasArts and they put them in touch with the guys who did the graphics. So Gary Winnick, Mark Ferrari and also Steve Purcell did the graphics, and they all worked on Zack McCracken and also Maniac Mansion and Loom for LucasArts, and some other games as well. And also Michael Egbert worked at LucasArts, and he created graphics for Monkey Island and one of the Indiana Jones games. So LucasArts there, and they also got the rights to publish this in America. So this was basically a free LucasArts game. They just hired some guys to draw the graphics, of which, well, they're okay. They're definitely functional graphics. I wouldn't say that they are massively wow graphics. So, well, that's how this game became to be known as a Lucasfilm or LucasArts game, because of the graphics. And they also got the rights to publish it in the US under the name of Pipe Dream, and it was known as Pipe Mania in the UK. Maybe Pipe Dream reminds me of a tobacco store, and of course in America, home of tobacco, that doesn't really matter. So that's the name change. And the music, I think that was also created by John Dale as well. You might remember Empire Software also published Volfid, Z-Wolf, Pacific Islands, Magic Boy, also Campaign and Team Yankee. And I think the assembly line also coded Team Yankee as well, so definitely a rake of tank games being published by Empire Software. And the assembly line, where does that sound familiar? Well, if you remember Interface from last time, they coded that, and also Xenon 2 as well that we saw last time, and Helter Skelter and Team Yankee. So those guys with a heritage on the Amiga. Unfortunately, Empire Software of course folded quite some time ago, but I think Zoo Games holds the right to publish their games, so at least the publishing rights are still out there. Amiga, you can see that he's given us 2 can you believe it? 2 of those holding tanks, and now we've got red liquid. So that just means it stands out more on that background, and I've no idea why we've got green bubbles in the background. And if this was a Dizzy game, it would have come with a tremendous background with all kinds of things in it, reminding us that we're in the middle of a fish tank. And if they'd hired better artists like Jim Sachs, then we would have got a fish tank moving around, perhaps with copper background motion and things like that. But they didn't, so they didn't really push the digital frontier of the Amiga with this particular game. Now we've used both tanks, and this is more or less a bonus level by the time you get to this stage, and it cuts out some of the scenery with fish all over it, but you can see there's still only 4, well there's 5 of them on this particular level, and that's as far as I'm going to get, so I don't mind losing that score. It's virtually 40,000 at this point, so that means we get to move on to level 8. Now it gives us 6 fish on the level, and we can't collide with those, and we can't do anything with them. All we can do is plot our way around, hopefully, and again it's giving us a tank very close to the start, so that gives us 10 seconds free lead time on top of everything else that we've got going on, so it should be possible to get 15 of these squares by now. It looks like we've got most of them in already, so the game starts off pretty difficult depending on what blocks that you get, and then it helps the player through the start of it, and then it starts to get pretty difficult, definitely from level 3 and level 4, because some of the blocks can only be flowed through in one direction, and if you get that wrong, that's game over. Definitely possible to play this with a joystick, although I find learning to do it with the mouse is more or less paramount, because that just means you can get around everything. So that's level 8 ticked off, that's tick. And so level 9, hopefully we get a bonus level or something like that, so let's see how many we can get with this one. And the professionals say you should dump everything off that you don't need straight away, just completely dump it off, and then you can just drop down whatever you do need. And that's a straight piece that's completely and utterly messed me up. I guess I should be putting that there, and then trying to loop this, and it's pretty difficult. And yeah, that's another one, and now I have to hope and pray for another straight piece to put in there, and I've put it in the wrong place. Can you believe it? I've put that one in the wrong place, put that one in the wrong place, so now everything's gone wrong. Everything completely has gone wrong. So, well, that's moving it, so I am kind of rescuing it. So if we can get, well, I should have put the other one in there, but I didn't. I can put that one in. Well, this is turning from bad to worse, but we are going to get a couple at least bonus blocks despite these feeble efforts. And now we can simply press that key again to fast forward everything and get our bonus score for that, so we're now over the 50,000 barrier. And now we move on to the next world, where we get basically tunnels that we can move through for free, but I don't think that slows down the water by anything. And you can see an arrow. White arrows on things means that we can only move through things in one direction. So as soon as we collide with the arrow, which is pointing in the wrong direction, that's level over, unfortunately. So time to go through those scores. Lemon Amiga gave this 77, Dato gave it 80, Amiga Action gave it 81, Amiga Format gave it 82, CU gave this 83%, Generation 4 gave it 85, Amiga Joker gave it 86, Joystick gave it 90, Ace gave it 91, Zap gave it 94%, Amiga Computing gave it 95, and that means the average score is 8.5 out of 10. Definitely the low score on Lemon Amiga. People were complaining that wasn't much to this game. The colour scheme was terrible, the audio was quite bad, and even Amiga Computing, who gave this 95%, said the audio was lukewarm at best. But this game has a party trick. If you can complete all of the level, and these are some examples that I've managed to put together. One of these screens is flipped, so I can arguably give you 4 ways. But you can see at least 3 different ways to complete one of the first levels that doesn't have any blocks around it. And hopefully if you can follow that formula, we'll get a super bonus. So before we leave, let's try that. And let's see if we can get a bigger score simply using that technique. It is possible to pause the game, but I think that takes everything off the screen, so you can't watch what's coming up and plan everything and things like that. Of course, if you've got WinUAE, you can simply press the F12 key and that will pause everything for you anyway. So you can cheat, I guess, if you've got an emulator. But what I'm going to do, since I've studied those particular plans that I've just showed you on the screen, what I'm attempting to do is to put that into action. This is something like my 5th different try of trying to do this, and the Lemoners in the competition and the EAB squad definitely recommended completing the first 2 screens of the game completely by filling every tile, getting that super bonus, and that means you virtually get double the amount of points. You can then play the game normally from then on, but that basically gives you all the boost that you need to get up into that high score table. So that's what I'm trying to do. If I can put this together 2 levels in a row, or at least even once, that might even give us as much score as we did last time. So you can see I'm trying to build a spiral around everything. That means that the rest of the level is still open and we can use it, and hopefully spiraling around the start point is definitely the topper's tip that we got from the Super League. And before that we hadn't got a clue how to do it, but we worked it out. So the hardest part is to remember to go back and fill in those tiles that we forgot to fill in earlier on, and another difficult part is planning ahead. You definitely need to plan ahead and structure things so you know what you're going to build, and then if you've got the aim in mind, surely plotting your way to that aim isn't too difficult. I'm not too concerned about going through cross pieces at this point, and it's pretty difficult to do that anyway if you're going for the clearance method, so I'm not going to bother with that. And players experts at this can do clearances and loops as well. So you can see I'm trying to make my way up on the right and then connect up to that one that we've got going on at the moment. And as long as we're about 5 or 6 tiles in front of where we need to be, that gives us plenty of time to fill in the rest. You can see sooner or later the block that we want will appear on the screen at some point, and the cross, put it up there, and then the straight one we can put that here, and now we can waste that and then put this here, and then hopefully now that's just the final few to match up before the end of the game. Unfortunately it doesn't really give us too many of the same block. All we can do is place down ones that we can do and waste them, and then we've got 2 different blocks. We've got the cross members that we can use, or we can use the complete horizontal bar block. And I think the cross members are twice as likely to come up because they can be used in either direction. So sooner or later we'll just hopefully it's another crossbar. So hopefully we're going to get enough now to complete the level and get the big super score. So definitely it's hard, but it is possible. And now we can press that button. That means we'll get even more score for doing that at high speed. A nice one. Secret 50,000 bonus. We get 50,000 score. So that's as much as we got last time, completing the first screen on its own, and we haven't even got through those levels yet. So this is level 2. And so the most difficult part definitely is at the start of it, because unless you can loop around yourself pretty quickly, think ahead, then it's pretty difficult. And again, the second hardest is remembering to go back, put that there, and well, it only gives us a certain amount of time to place those in, and if you keep getting the wrong blocks like this or something like that, sometimes you need to place them wildly on the level in order to put those in. Let's just put this in, remember to go back, and I forgot, so that's this level over. So thank you for viewing this Amiga play guide to Pirate Mania. I hope you know how to play it now. I certainly do, and it's not particularly easy, but if you can get a good stride with it, it's a rewarding game, and I definitely felt rewarded playing it, particularly getting the high score, only completing 1.2 screens of it. So that's what I did, and it's now my 4th try. There it is. So thank you once again, and we'll see you again in another play guide at some point sometime soon. Thank you.